We are in Istanbul for the 5th International Conference of Housing arranged by Yapı Endüstri Merkezi. And also welcome to the architectural series titled Architects Talk or Conversations with Architects. Now I have a very distinguished guest with me, Charles Renfro, and thank you very much for joining us after the lecture. I know you are tired, but I mean it's a great opportunity to have you here so that we can maybe talk a little bit. Just before you, actually, we had an interview with Mr. Fuksas, and we were emphasizing the significant difference between the tradition of architectural offices in Europe and in States, or States and elsewhere, let me say. It's better to state it like that. Most of the office, he also mentioned it in his lecture that there are big firms, institutional firms, and like Arup, SOM, KPF, etc. And most of the projects are not based on research, but rather, I mean, they are producing a kind of a typology that is open to reproduction. As far as I know, you are not coming from that tradition. Is it true? I mean, can you, I mean, how much, let me say, feel yourself from America in that sense?
Right. Our practice is among a few, but certainly not unique in the United States. It's based more in a tradition of research, as you would find in a smaller European practice. When I joined, my partners Liz Diller and Rick Scofidio, 18 years ago, there were only 6 of us in the practice, and so
2004.
No, I joined in 1997,
but you became
and I became a partner in 2004. At that point, we were taking projects in succession, one at a time, and it allowed us the luxury of drilling down into each project and understanding the problem of the problem. And if it didn't have a problem, we would bring a problem to the table, which we still like to do with each of our projects. It's not about the client giving us a problem, it's about us giving the client a problem. And so I think that that's a methodology.
And it forms the basis of the research.
Correct. That's what is it that we're trying to solve? What is it we're trying to get at? And I think that's that is a methodology that is unusual in the States, but not unheard of, particularly in New York City. And in other college towns, in Boston and Chicago, where teachers are also practitioners and vice versa, so that the field of research is directly impacting the practice of architecture, and also the practice of architecture is able to find its way back into academia.
I think that is one of the basic significant difference between, not maybe different, but in Europe, I mean, most of the teachers in the field of architecture are already practicing, or vice versa. Those who are in practice have great connection, close connection with the architectural schools. It is true for some of the schools in States, and maybe that makes a significant difference in terms of that. And when I was making a kind of a search, I have seen that you were assigned as the national academician in 1914. It was very interesting. I mean, what does this national academician means? I think it's a very important title when I look around.
It's an honorific title. It's not. You don't do anything after you become an academician. And I believe that the title academician is a slightly leftover title from when the the academy was, well, it is still an academy. It's an academy where you go to learn and to teach, and it made you an academician. That started 150 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, it's not required that you be a teacher. It's not required that academia is part of your practice, but it sounds like that because the title is academician, national academician.
Doesn't it also refer to a kind of a validation that your work is very transparent to research and academia?
I mean, it's a very generous reading of the title, but it's not explicitly so. I think the people that have been inducted into the academy are at the top of their field in giving to their respective areas. So whether it's architecture or art or urban design or dance or writing, these people are contributing at the highest level to their field. Whether it's research-based is maybe not the issue, from what I can tell.
Thank you very much. I mean,
Okay.
it was lots of. Is there anything you want to add or ask? And,
Well, I mean, I'm curious to know, just maybe turning the tables a little bit, how what the mood towards contemporary architecture, or let's even call it smart architecture, kind of thoughtful architecture, is in this country, and how is the government receiving it, or what are the partnerships that are being forged between people that have contemporary practices that are questioning or pushing the envelope? How is that working in this country?
Actually, I mean, the good or thoughtful architecture, let me say, architecture based upon research is highly dependent upon the client and the client quality.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't think that there is any problem with the understanding or the theory of a thoughtful architecture and its integration with the contemporary architectural medium. However, I mean, there is not enough ground in terms of finding proper clients which will provide a kind of a basis for such experimental and research-based different architecture.
Right.
And government is the biggest, I mean, client in Turkey, as it is in many places, and it is highly, I mean, conservative in the sense that, as we have discussed earlier, they are trying to promote a kind of an artificial identity-based architecture, and which is not very easy to create a kind of a research-based design on that issue. On the other hand, I mean, the conservation of cities and buildings are a very significant and important issue, both in Istanbul, in many places in Turkey. And I think we need more sensitivity on those issues, which is not publicly understood well. But I mean, there's a very good young generation coming now. I think things will go better. Let me hope at least.
Well, one thing I would say, and this is probably the last point I'll make, is one of the reasons our practice has flourished is not because of the private world, but because of the public world, which is really surprising to me in a way. We've had such support from the government, mostly from the city of New York, under Michael Bloomberg. He basically funded the Lincoln Center renovation. That was our first major New York project. And then the High Line was the capital cost. A lot of it was covered by the city of New York. And it's because the mayor decided that he wanted to support great design and also great public space, both at the same time. Some would say for the rich and for the elite. But okay, it's open to the public. These things are open to the public. So it's a question of, are the the people feel comfortable going there. It's not for the rich. Anyway, that's another question. But surprisingly, the government was instrumental in helping ours and many small practices, shop and other burgeoning young practices, be able to become substantial voices in the culture world because of the city's support. Very, very surprising to everyone.
That's very important, I think. The mayor of Istanbul is an architect.
Oh, really?
I don't know, yeah, and he has a PhD on conservation, etc. And actually, it's a great chance that within his period, Istanbul could have some of the very unique architectural projects or examples. But I mean, unfortunately, yet we haven't seen as much as maybe we have to. I don't know. Maybe still we are optimistic.
Yeah, good. Well, I think it's. I just say that because I think our work as architects is so much at the level of policy as much as it is in design, and making making sure that we're forging good public policy, and we often have to do that through our relationships with governmental agencies.
That's true.
So it's just, I think we do have work to do as architects.
Yes. Charles Renfro, thank you very much for participating us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was nice to have you here.
Great.